already started. Hi, Washington, D.C. Live from the historic Howard Theater, it's the Women's Game Live in D.C., presented by Allstate. I'm Sam Mewis.
And I'm Rog. And it's such a joy to be back with you in this incredible city, this bastion of football wonder. To you, the District of Columbia.
We are here to explore the legendary matchup between your Olympic gold medal winning U.S. women's national team and Canada, who also, I will say this quietly, are an Olympic gold medal winning team as well. The upcoming game is at 7:30 p.m. on Wednesday, July 2nd at a packed Audi field. I think they call it Rowdy Audi around here. And it's the latest installment in a clash which has become one of the U.S.'s greatest modern rivalries.
Oh, the metric versus the imperial. Milk in bags versus milk in jugs. Nathan Fielder against Tim Robinson. No pennies against still having pennies for some reason. God bless Canada versus the USA.
We are elated. This special night was made possible by our great friends at Allstate. I'm so proud to be teaming up with a brand that's so committed to growing women's sports in this nation, especially soccer, the game that brings us all together here tonight.
You can clap that.
Give it up for Allstate.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Clap for our sponsors, thank you. If you clap for our sponsors, we promise we'll come back twice next year. By the way, it's a joy for us to be in this magnificent kingdom of Washington, D.C. I love your city. I lived here for 4 glorious years. I lived at the corner of Columbia and Kalorama. In Adams Morgan, back when it was really Adams Morgan. I used to drink at the quite legendary Toledo Lounge, which was a cult favorite. All the dads in the audience here were like, yeah! I actually met my wife Vanessa there, DC, honestly, in every regard. Look at that, I had I think a smattering of hair in that photograph. But DC is forever in my life and is forever in my heart.
This is a homecoming of sorts for us both, Rog. Rog met his wife here, and I once came here on an 8th grade field trip.
Always the Tower of Power. And on that 8th grade trip, Sam learnt about the profound footballing history that lies in this city's heart and soul.
Yeah, Hanson Middle School loves soccer, so they taught us all about it. This city does have proper football history. It's where, in 1999, then President Bill Clinton and his family watched in what was then the Jack Kent Cooke Stadium as Brandi Chastain scored for both teams in a come-from-behind 3-2 USA win over Germany in the World Cup quarterfinals, a World Cup which the U.S. would go on to win.
And where DC United won the first MLS Cups, which I saw from the stands as a season ticket holder, the iconic Jaime Moreno, Marco Echeverri, John Harkes on the field, and that singular fan culture that you all created as La Barra Brava would literally make RFK Stadium shake and bounce.
DC was also host of the first ever WUSA match, the world's original women's professional soccer league, started right here in America. That was in front of over 34,000 fans and Billie Jean King, who did the ceremonial coin toss in RFK Stadium in 2001. Mia Hamm's Washington Freedom beating Brandi Chastain's Bay Area Cyber Rays 1-0. Soccer teams don't have cool names like the Cyber Rays anymore.
By the way, that's Boss Nation erasure. Well, let's talk about today. Let's talk about DC. Let's hear it for your 2021 NWSL Champion 2025 Challenge Cup winner, Washington Spirit! say, I love this team. This team, Hal Hirschfeld. Oh, the immovable force, the quite prolific Ashley Hatch. And that poet warrior, Tara McKeown. I love the dizzying brand of football. I love the vision. Most of all, I love the sold-out, passionate fan base.
And just like women's football, the fandom of women's sports is being pioneered here, as we'll hear on this stage tonight from your 2019 WNBA champion, Washington Mystics.
Honestly, while I just come here sometimes just to relish in the odor, the aftershave, the smell of Ben's chili bowl, those half smokes. I'm currently 87% made up of half smokes. But we're also here for some serious business. We're here on the eve of the latest iteration of the Allstate Continental Classico. We need a sting for that. That's where the lightning needs to crackle out. Yes. Did I mention Canada are about to play the USA?
This has become the prime rivalry, not just in the region, but one of the most heartfelt in the world of women's football.
We needed this rivalry to grab the game, the fan base, the players, spilled across all aspects of life, the duality, Christy Sinclair against Abby Wambach, and of Green Gables against Little Women. It's a rivalry that's even bigger than Hudder versus America. It's not a Supreme Court case. It's something far more important. Talking about Love Island, baby.
Roger, I knew you've been watching Love Island, and here's the truth. Canada versus the U.S. wasn't always much of a rivalry. The first meeting was in 1986, a time of big shoulder pads and bigger hair. The Canadian team had only been playing together for 3 days in July of 1986 before hopping on a bus from Winnipeg to Blaine, Minnesota, where they faced their first ever opponents. Blaine, Minnesota is here? A game which was won decisively by a confident young United States team 2-0.
Canadian women wore jerseys that had previously worn by a youth boys team. Many of them had to pay their own wages to be here. And I'm telling you this just as a reminder of how far the game has come so fast.
After they gave the jerseys back to the boys' team, what would follow was decades of lopsided wins for the USA. Oh, Canada.
From 2001, the US did not lose for 2 entire decades. It's a footballing equivalent that many of you who are older siblings will remember, the same kind of game you used to play. Stop hitting yourself! Stop hitting yourself! Just merciless older sibling beatdowns, like the 6-1 thrashing in 2003, where Julie Foudy, Shannon McMillan ran circles around Canada right here at RFK.
That brings us to the semifinals of the 2012 Olympics, and one of the most iconic games ever, not just for this particular rivalry. The U.S. women's national team at that time was led by players like Abby Wambach and Hope Solo. We hadn't lost to Canada in 26 games, and then something crazy happened, but it really almost happened. We'll get to that in just a few minutes.
Sam, you experienced this rumble firsthand. You played Canada double-hander of friendlies in November 2017.
I did. We drew the first game, and then the second game was a 3-1 win with goals from a trio of legends, Julie Ertz, Alex Morgan, and Carly Lloyd.
So, in those days, how did those games, this is baseline, what do they feel like? What do they taste like? What do they smell like? Did you feel that sense of rivalry, that sense of extra pressure?
I felt extra pressure in my early days, but really all my days with the national team, all the time. I was just trying not to get cut. But even though every game was a huge deal, they were all super important. The games against Canada did have that little bit of extra pressure around them. It was a rivalry. We were all so familiar with the players on the Canadian team because we played with a lot of them in the NWSL. Plus, the games were really physical. There was just this tense edge to the games where you were getting tackled, you were tackling hard. It was definitely a heightened atmosphere, and as the U.S. women's national team, we had really high expectations for ourselves to always beat Canada.
And then you played Canada at the 2021 Olympics.
Rog, why are we even bringing this up? We're here in front of lovely company. They don't need to hear this, but we will have to go deep on that game with our guests later tonight.
Because we're journalists now, Sam. We're objective. No sides, honestly. Says the man who loves America more than Kenny Powers loves America. But people need to know right now that 2021 Olympics, Canada prevailed. They almost proved themselves to themselves. They changed everything. You can almost hear the tectonic plates under this rivalry shifting, a new dynamic. And we're going to bring the audience back to these moments and explain how we arrived at this moment where one of the most zealous rivalries in the world of football, a game so hard fought, a game that's battled out not only on land, but occasionally also, like naval warfare, on sea.
Case in point, the infamous water game in last year's Gold Cup semifinal in San Diego's Snapdragon Stadium. Usually sunny San Diego had experienced torrential rain that turned the pitch into a swamp. The ref came out and dropped the ball, and it just plopped there. They literally had to use squeegees to reduce the water levels at halftime.
Yeah, but this being CONCACAF, they were like, perfect playing conditions. Play ball. It was slapstick. It was dangerous. Somehow the game went to penalties, which meant that the great American Alyssa Nair stepped up. Not only did she save 3 penalties, which in the technical side of the game, it's called a mat freeze, but she also converted one herself. She's like a footballing Shohei Ohtani.
On Wednesday, we will have the latest installment of this matchup here at Audi Field. And so tonight, we're going to go deep on all that's to come, understanding the game, the stakes, the inner depths from every perspective. And I think it's pretty safe to say, Rog, that we have a U.S.-based crowd here tonight.
But an open-minded, open-hearted, welcoming, and joyous crowd, right? By the way, last time I had to do this, I was in Portland and we were doing a show and we were bringing on someone who played for Seattle, and I had to give this same speech then. I'd say it kind of worked, and I do believe it will tonight, Sammy, because we're going to get into this from every single perspective, and I'm so grateful for the people that we're going to share the stage with. Human bolts of wonder and joy and inspiration at a time I honestly think we could all do with all of those things. So let's dive in and bring up our first guest. Someone who was there at the water game and lived to tell the tale. It's a joy to welcome one of my favorite human beings in the entire planet. If other planets exist, still, I'd include them in that too. She's a woman who won the World Cup twice, became the captain of the team, became the people's captain, seen it, done it, on the field, and now off it as a broadcaster on this very network. Let's hear it for the Michael Jordan of human goodness.
It's the people's captain, my friend, 1/3 of the Good Vibes FC podcast. DC, please be upstanding for Becky Sauerbrunn.
Oh, Becky. We love you, Becky, and you are not alone. It's incredible to be in your presence in Washington, D.C. I do believe you're just here for a quick visit, but one day you will be back, and you'll be back as president. She's running. Oh, Becky, we knew that you wanted to talk about the birth of the US rivalry. We couldn't talk about it without you. You've witnessed so many of these epic rumbles firsthand. But before we start to dive into the conversation, let's make a memory with everyone here in Washington, D.C. Please be upstanding. We're going to take a photograph so that all of you can remember this night, that we connect together and revel in all is good in life. On your feet, D.C. Sam, Becky, let's bring on our photographer, the great Jess Rapp-Fogel. Yes! We're going to text you all that photograph now.
Okay, all right, let's get to Becky now. We've got to start with a really tough question. This is a gotcha. Whitney Houston or Celine Dion, or Rose Lavelle singing Celine Dion?
Easiest question ever. Rose Lavelle singing Celine Dion. The best thing I have ever seen live. Anything.
Let's see it.
Funny story about that. Throughout that entire performance, I am standing next to Rose's dad, and he is recording this like she had just won 2019 all over again. He was the proudest father ever.
I mean, of course. That's incredible. Okay, Rose aside, sadly, I'd love to just keep watching that with you all night. We're back to this rivalry, and this rivalry got real shortly after you joined the squad, Becky. It was 2012. I've mentioned this already tonight. The U.S. was cruising through the London Olympics. Another gold medal match was on the horizon. All you had to do was beat Canada in the semifinal, but this game became kind of a beast. The U.S. spent the entire game chasing Christine Sinclair in Canada. By the final 20 minutes, Canada was in the lead. The gold medal was slipping through American fingers, and then something insane happened. The Canadian goalkeeper got called for time wasting, which almost never happens. That call resulted in a free kick, which led to a handball, then a PK, then a goal by the mythical Abby Wambach that would give the U.S. a fighting chance in extra time, and finally a win with a header from Baby Horse, a.k.a. Alex Morgan. Dominoes falling for Canada in the final seconds of chaos. You were on the field, Becky. Talk us through that semifinal. How did you feel about the way that game ended?
The entire game was shenanigans, and it's honestly, it started from the very beginning. So the then coach at the time for Canada, John Herdman, he was known for wearing these really small collared shirts. He would just stand up at the sideline with his arms crossed, and then Sinky went off. I mean, Christine Sinclair, game of her life, she still lost the game somehow, which has to be just so demoralizing. But so she's scoring a goal, and she scores the first goal, and John Herdman looks over at our bench, and it just smirks at us. And I'm sitting next to Amy Rodriguez. She's Amy Schilling right now. And Amy is so mad. I'm like, I have to like hold her back a little bit. She wants to go like front up on John Herdman. Yeah. So it was just a crazy game. They go up, we go up. They go up, we go up. And that madness happened. And I'm sitting on the bench thinking like, oh great, the ball bounced our way this time. Because you just never know in soccer which way the ball is gonna bounce. And it was going into overtime. And at the Olympics, you're not allowed to have brand names on anything. And we had already gone through all our water, all our electrolytes. And so Don Scott, our sport performance coach, is like, Becky, Amy, I need you to take off all these brands and just use the athletic tape or cover them up. So I'm thinking there's no chance I am going into this match.
No, you're literally being the water girl.
No chance. And then Rachel Van Hallebeck, Rachel Bueller at the time, she goes down with a cramp, or maybe it was like head to head or something. And Dawn looks at me and is like, what are you doing? Like, go warm up. I had no chance to warm up. I go cold into the semifinal of an Olympic Games. in double overtime as a center back. Do you know how crazy that is? You're going in and you're like, you just don't mess this up. You're not gonna do anything good, just don't mess it up. And I'm on the field, I see in front of me the Heather O'Reilly cross to baby horse Alex Morgan header goal. I'm celebrating so hard, I almost pass out because I haven't warmed up yet, so my heart's like not really beating correctly. But it was pure madness, and I've been part of some wild soccer matches. That one takes the cake for sure.
And no brand names were exposed on any water bottles as
Not
well.
on my watch.
Let's hear it. Not on my watch. I just want to hear more about Amy Rodriguez wanting to rip the tighty whitey shirt off John Herdman. I'm going to rip that shirt off now. Sit down. Go and get... That's why she made you rip the bottles. She was trying to calm down A-Rod, give us something else to focus on. But for those who don't know, the US ended up winning gold in that final. And for the Canadian players, that London semi-final defeat, it stung. But it was also the birth of their own mythology, their own hero story. They started to see themselves as a team that were cast by a shadow, by an all-too-powerful villain, and hunger for revenge. It's almost, I mean, we've all lived it. Heartbreak can catalyze you into a different reality, belief, hunger. John Oliver always says, when he comes on our show, he says, spite is the rocket fuel of human motivation. I made him a little pennant with that on because I think it's a creed to live by. But Becky, when you faced Canada after the Olympic drama, did you feel, not to go all Star Wars on you, but a bit of a shift in the force for them after this moment?
Oh, very much so. And I think they continued that success into that bronze medal match because they wound up beating France. So that was their first bronze medal. And then the NWSL started that next year, and whereas a lot of the American players got allocated to all the new teams, they made sure that the Canadian players also got allocated to make sure that there was parity. And then they're riding this wave. The stars are rising. Christine Sinclair is becoming, a household name. She could run for mayor and probably get in Portland like that. And so they're hosting 2015 World Cup, and that was a huge World Cup for women's soccer. And there's a lot of pressure with hosting, but they do relatively well. They go to 2016, get another bronze, and then, unfortunately, in 2021, they get the gold.
That was spoiler alert, guys. Spoiler alert. We're getting there, because we need to talk about 2021, but I want you to know I'm only raising it for both of you, because contractually that I'm obliged to do so. 2021 was a challenging time. Tokyo Olympics had been delayed by COVID. Athletes were still playing in front of empty stadiums. Both of you were living that reality. The memory of that 2019 World Cup victory still very fresh for the United States team. Into the semi-finals against that rejuvenated Canadian squad. The game itself, two players who were involved in it. Sam, what's your dominant memory of it?
I try not to remember it much. As Megan Rapinoe put it after the game, we just didn't have the juice. It was hot and humid, the stadium was empty, we were deadlocked with Canada until the 74th minute, when there was apparently a foul in our box. The ref went to VAR, and these were some of the longest minutes of my life. I was on the bench at the time, and I remember feeling convinced that the VAR check was like just a formality. Surely that wasn't a PK. Tierna Davidson and Deanne Rose were running towards the corner flag and just like got tangled up. That's what my heart told me anyway, but it resulted in a penalty kick for Canada and a goal from an unflappable Jessie Fleming, who was a penalty kick queen during that Olympics. For the first time in 2 decades, we lost to Canada and lost our shot at a gold medal. I have not really come to terms with this yet, clearly, but Becky, you are my wisest friend. How do you make sense of this loss when you look back on it now? Was Canada just the better team?
Canada was the better team. And I know it rankles the heart to say that, but we didn't have the juice. We struggled from the get in that tournament. We got spanked by Sweden in the first match, eked our way into qualifications with a tie with Australia. It was just, things were happening, bad things. Injuries, we weren't playing well. I thought we had got it together in that Netherlands match where we had won in PKs, and that was really exciting. And then we get into that semifinal, and it was just We just didn't have it, and they did. And I keep thinking about that PK because I was playing with Tierna, and I see it happening because she's trying to clear a ball, and Deanna Rose just gets right in front of her, and she clips her leg. And I look at Tierna, she looks at me, and we're like, that's gonna be a PK. So we were really just like, okay, how do we refocus and get the group ready to go for that last 12 minutes or so? And we couldn't find it.
I mean, I love the United States. Rehearsing today, I could still feel your pain as we talked about this game, an unresolved reality, and it hurt to watch for so many in this theatre tonight. There was a beautiful moment that will always stick with me after the game. Jessie Fleming, the penalty hero, was doing an interview. Megan Rapinoe interrupted it to embrace her. I remember watching it at home. It was like a symbolic moment in this journey that the two teams had been on, a new respect. Ultimately a new joy, a new sense of challenge, but a real beautiful moment in defeat. You both played alongside so many of the Canadian players for your club teams in NWSL. Becky, you played in Portland. The whole team was Canadian. I mean, you played with GOAT Christine Sinclair, Jessie Fleming, the magical Janine Sonis. I don't know what language was spoken in the locker room there. But was this US-Canada rivalry suddenly something that you lived out even inside your own locker room?
No. I think when we all get together and we play for our professional teams, I know in Portland, it's all about Portland. And we celebrate each other's wins, congratulations on this, congratulations on that. But when we're together in that locker room, it really is, okay, it's all about the city now. It's all about the community and what can we do to raise each other up. And it's funny, it's great to have, the only time I will say that the rivalry comes into effect is if we are talking about our own countries a little bit. And it's funny because we've talked about how the mindset between an American player and a Canadian player is quite different. And so what makes, I think, the Americans so great is that we kind of ride on this knife's edge. And we're riding on that knife's edge successfully, we're winning world tournaments. But in 2021, if we fall off that edge for whatever reason, we're off of it. We're not going to find it. We get cut. And so Canada, on the other hand, is just like a big spoon of hugs. And they're just in it together, and they have these amazing hashtags about, we're gonna change the color of the medal this go around, and then they win gold. And it's just so lovable, and you have to love them, and they're so together, and it's really annoying sometimes.
Yeah, I'm not going to use a spoon again for the rest of the week. This is really bothering me, but it was a great cutlery metaphor.
I need to introduce Sam to the wonders of a spork, which does it all. You told me something amazing in rehearsal. You talked about Christy Sinclair's tattoo, which sums up for you. You said the Canadian players and American players, we have a different mentality. I said, like what? And you just, boom.
Yeah, Christine Sinclair has a tattoo of a large red maple leaf on her shoulder blade. It's a soccer playing maple leaf with cleats on and those little marks behind like she's running really fast. I don't know many of us that have the American eagle on a soccer ball soaring through the air. I don't think we have any of those.
Canadians love Canada.
They do.
I think that is safe to say. And to me, this rivalry is all that's good about the rise of women's football around the globe. Just this spring, Canada's very own women's soccer league, the Northern Super League, kicked off with big crowds, and even more excitement. The game is getting better everywhere, and for the U.S. in the long term, that obviously means more threats. Becky, how do you feel about this when we always say, the rising tide lifts all boats, even if that makes it more challenging for the U.S. to win?
Even if we don't like the other boat.
Even if we don't like the other boat, it's how it should have always been. And I think as Americans, our federation, for as much as we have battled with them for our own reasons, they have invested a lot in our program, and that is just not the case everywhere. And so I know with the Canadians that I played with in Portland, we share resources. If with our Players Association, they want to know how we do a certain thing or how do we track a certain metric, we share that information because we know one win somewhere in women's soccer is going to be a win somewhere else, and there's still so far to go. But this is how it's supposed to be. We are supposed to be uplifting one another and making women's soccer accessible and equal for absolutely everybody.
Amen. Amen, I've got to say. And what a beautiful moment to bring in our next guest with a full heart of joy. Somebody who can really talk about the present day state of the rivalry, because from a Canadian perspective, she's someone whose mind is going to actively shape it. I want to be clear, I revere this human being. I think she is phenomenal, has always been phenomenal as a player. She was the England captain. She was an incredible defender. They called her Basildon Baresi. She seemed to be able to see into the future and position herself accordingly. And then she made a transition to coaching, seem utterly effortless, became the first ever manager of Manchester United Women. Hurtled 8 time zones west to take over at San Diego Wave, was the 2022 NWSL Coach of the Year. She's now taken her talents and her water cooler across the border, become the head coach of Canada's national team. I adore this human being. It's an honor to share the stage with her tonight. DC, please be upstanding and welcome the manager of the Canadian women's national team, Casey Stoney.
Thank you. I think I'm a bit outnumbered in this room.
We're all love.
You never
Is
know
that,
you're
is that
welcome.
not right, DC? Are we not all love tonight?
All right, Casey, you've been working in Canada now for 6 months. I have to ask, what is the most Canadian thing you've experienced so far? How many bags of ketchup chips have you eaten? Have you dipped them in maple syrup?
You don't eat them. They're awful.
Awful.
No, they did a taste test challenge, and that was the one thing I really didn't like. And
During the interview, they did the taste test challenge.
I was offered beaver tail. Yeah, I thought it was a beaver's tail. And it's not. It's a fried dough type treat, so I have yet to try that.
Sounds awesome.
We're going to pick up on the what you love about Canada theme in one moment. But you did think about this job. They thought about you. You weighed up your decision with a real clinicality because you had so many options. And love this part of the story. You called Canada men's national team coach, that great Canadian, my friend, Mr. Jesse Marsh. Jenny, I think has become the most popular American import to Canada since that dude in Vancouver had to stop selling bootleg Trader Joe's products. I love Jesse. You know I do. He can't hold back on his opinions, which is what I like about him. But Casey, what questions did you have? And what advice did he give you before you started the Casey Stoney Canadian adventure?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing I wanted to talk to him about was a transition from the club game to the national game, which is a big shift. I'm a coach. I love to work with players day to day. What were the challenges that he faced? How did he stay connected to the players, even though you're not with them very much? And what is it about Canada that drew him? You know, because he would have had lots of opportunities too. So it was an extensive 90 minutes. He's very passionate. He's an energy giver. And he was one of the real reasons why I decided to take the job, because he wanted to align the pathways, work together, which is unheard of across men's and women's. I've been on a men's camp as well, which is also unheard of. And that was a big draw for me as a coach.
Casey, you mentioned this transition from being a club football coach to being a national team coach. Despite your coaching experience in England and in the NWSL, this is the first time that you've taken charge of a national team. Obviously, there is a difference in you're not with the players every day. Can you talk us through how you adjusted to that and how you take the little time you have with the national team and make the most of it every camp?
Yeah, you have to be really intentional about what you're doing. It was a big decision. I've been in the club game. I also played internationally for 18 years, so I kind of got it as a player. I was an assistant coach under Phil Neville for a short time as well, so I saw that side of it. That was a clap. Was that a clap?
It's nice to... By the way, Phil Neville's in the audience tonight.
And I think it was very much like, how can I impact players when I'm in camp? How can I make sure I'm impacting them off camp whilst not interfering with their club game? Because that's not my job, that's their club coach's job. And it was about, I had a clear remit of like, you guys are blessed with so much talent, right? So many players to pick from. So how do we widen our pool? How do we get more young players involved? That was an intentional decision on camp, how we really concise and deliberate about the information that we give and how we utilize our players for their skill sets rather than asking them to play away maybe that doesn't suit them. So far so good. Still learning a lot about Canada and the vastness of it and the challenges and the opportunities, but yeah, I'm absolutely loving it.
I'm always fascinated by the transition from player to coach. And so when you're watching the team, when you're thinking about what to tell them, do you find yourself thinking about the situations as a coach or as a player? Like, for instance, like we're defenders.
Yeah.
So a defender shakes a clearance, and we've all done it before. Are you looking at that situation and thinking, that's got to be better? Or are you thinking, oh yeah, I've done that too, like, it's fine, next one? Like, how do you make that switch or flip in your head?
Bit of both. I think I was very intentional when I transitioned, like a simple thing, like I don't wear a tracksuit on the sideline. Because when I went to Manchester United, I signed a lot of players that I played with and I needed them to see me as the manager. So I changed on a match day. Obviously, I've got a Blazer thing going on, which is a thing apparently.
Yeah, it is.
So
how did you develop that? Was that just conscious, I need to be different, Blazers it is? Or did that just happen, then you rode that Blazer wave?
yeah, it kind of happened. Like at Man United, you had a Man United Blazer, so it kind of started that way, and then it just developed. And I wanted to be the head coach, not the ex-player. And I've had to work on that, Becky. I was still a player probably for 3 or 4 years whilst I was transitioning into management, and I had to like really work hard with outside support to like leave the player behind and become a head coach and a manager and what they needed me to be.
I've got so many questions about Blazers. Clearly need help. But when you were announced as Canada's coach, you said something beautiful. You said that the culture of the Canadian players was one of the reasons that you took the job. I loved it when you said it. You said, I align with those same values, those same principles. And I'm fascinated to hear you put it into your own words, Casey. What part of the culture, the Canadian mindset, truly resonated with your heart and your soul? Because you are a deeply soulful, reflective human being. Yeah, I mean, it can't be that you're all just used to coins with a king's face on them.
Well, I'm big on like values and behaviours. I think they make up and shape a team. I think I looked at the Olympic experience they had, which was really tough on them, you know, and the resilience and togetherness and humility that they showed and the hard work. And for me, that's aligned to me. Like, I'm trying to get us to be a little less kind and a little bit less apologetic. And like, but these players want to win. They want to win. They want to win the right way. And I felt like it was the right time for me to come in and align myself with their values.
I mean, it's what Jesse also says. He's like, he loves the skill. He loves the raw talent. He's annoyed by the Canadian nice. I mean, it's very funny. He said he wants the players not to like just help the other opponent up. He wants them to like push him over. But there's an element of that that's shared culturally, mentally, tactically.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's about creating a winning mentality, you know, being unapologetically ourselves, wanting to win, saying we want to win, believing we can win, and then obviously preparing to win.
We've spoken about the Canada-US rivalry. It's not quite as aggressive as it is in women's hockey, where every player takes the ice like they're fighting for who gets to claim Shania Twain. I mean, she did live in Las Vegas for a lot of years, let's be honest here. But this game is different. How have you experienced that difference from the inside? Have players already started giving those little, let's kick the US's butt pep talks?
It definitely feels different. You know, we obviously played Costa Rica the other day. Building into this, it feels different. There's definitely a rivalry, and it's great. Like, that rivalry needs to be there in the women's game. I think it draws attention. It escalates, for me, the intensity of the game, the level of the game. So I think Wednesday's going to be a great showdown.
I think especially in years where there isn't a major world tournament, having games like this is a way to make the game feel really meaningful. This game could feel like it's part of a World Cup or an Olympics, and it's really just a friendly. Casey, we know that you've coached against Emma Hayes before, most recently when you were at United and she was at Chelsea. What do you expect from her? What does an Emma Hayes United States team look like?
Well, we had very different budgets in England. But I think what she's able to create is a winning mentality. Even when they're not great, I'm talking about Chelsea now more than, USA, they found a way to win. And she creates that environment. Obviously, they had great players. She had lots of success. I think from what I've seen, they are using the ball really well at the moment, creating a lot of chances. A little bit more fluid in their play than they have been in the past, but also with the ability to go direct and use their athleticism. So it's a difficult test for us.
What kind of game should we brace ourselves for, Casey?
An intense one.
I want to ask you this. We are, and I'm not a big counter of days, but we're 724 days away from the kickoff of the Women's World Cup. And I don't know if that feels to you like tomorrow, or it feels far away, all chill. But where are you in the process? Can you tell us what this game means tonight for you? What the phases you're about to move through to battle harden your squad for 2027?
Yeah, it's a big step. It will let us know where we're at. I think we've had some reasonable tests in the last 6 months, but not top-level opponents, which is where we want to be and what we want to be playing against. I think we've been intentional about widening the player pool, giving lots of different players opportunities. The rest of the year, in terms of opponents, ramps up for us now. So it will really set us on our way.
Godspeed. Can we just, this is an incredible human being to come into Washington, D.C. and talk with us with such joy.
Casey, you are a singular tactical presence, and I really admire how Canada have gone out and acquired two of the most ferocious footballing minds to lead their national teams, and it has been such an honor to be with you tonight. Good luck on Wednesday, but not too much luck. DC, let's hear it for Casey Stoney.
Casey Stoney!
Our next guests of the evening are going to give us the chance to go deep into why Washington, D.C. is such an incredible sports city. Let's bask in that sporting glow with a pair of Washington Mystic rookies. Whose ceilings are higher than the price of dinner at the Dabney. They may be new to D.C., but they're already as popular as a couple of Labubu's, and I did not know what those were until I asked Sam. Luckily, Sam knew exactly what I was talking about. One is a silent assassin, the third overall pick in the 2025 WNBA draft, a defensive talent and an offensive threat, and a player making one of the most stunning WNBA debuts I've ever seen. The other, a player known for her incredible passing vision and unfailing ability to support her teammates on and off the court. Please be upstanding for these titans of the hardwood, Georgia Amoore and Sonia Citron.
Thank you two. Yes, you're perfect. It's going to be great. Thank you two so much for joining us on the show. I'm such a fan. Georgia, let's start with you. You grew up in Ballarat, Australia, but you've been in the States since 2020 when you came here to play basketball for Virginia Tech before...
Okay.
Virginia Tech, baby. Before transferring to Kentucky and then... Kentucky! And then you were quickly snatched up in the first round by the Washington Mystics. I was ready for that one. In this year's WNBA draft, you've been here for 2.5 months. What have you learned about this incredible city, and how do you describe DC to your family back home?
It's actually walkable. Like, I can actually get around. Well, actually, it's actually limpable for me right now. But it's a beautiful city. It's very reminiscent of home, and I know that's kind of biased, but anytime there's like a cute city and it's gorgeous, I'm like, oh, it reminds me of home. Which is the utmost compliment, but it's gorgeous. I love it. It's just beautiful, like the nature, the city vibe. It has everything that you really need.
DC, you are the ball rat of America.
Bell
rat.
Got you.
You're both of them. You're the ball rat and you're the bell rat. You're that bloody good. Sonia, I know where you grew up really, really well. You grew up in Westchester. You played for the mighty Ursuline Koalas.
Yes. Yep.
There's not a single bloody Ursuline. Can we all pretend we're from the Ursuline Koalas here? Can I tell you, my kids play the Ursuline Koalas once a year and they get destroyed by them. They are utterly fearsome in every regard. You starred for them in pretty well every single sport, and as a basketball star, your records are well known. Notre Dame, record after record after record. Your arrival in this incredible city as the third pick in the draft. And then the instant impact in the league, where you're already diving into the running for the Rook of the Year. But I do know this, that your original sport of choice, Sonia Citron, was football, soccer. Look at this.
I love this photo of you. So for our listeners at home, I'll describe it. Sonia is, what, 8 years old here?
Yeah,
And
sounds about right.
yeah, and you look focused and slightly concerned.
She was thinking about that haircut. She had flashbacks.
It kind of reminds me of the Becky stare. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? I think we kind of, yeah. I know it well. I get this stare a lot.
So tell us, what kind of footballer was Sonia Citron? How serious were you? I guess I'm kind of nudging towards, were you the one that got away, Sonia?
I would say I was very serious. My family was a huge soccer family, so it was the first sport that I started. I think I started playing when I was like 4, and it was definitely number one. Like basketball took the back burner. I had tournaments every weekend. I would miss my basketball games for soccer. When I had time, I would play basketball, but it was always soccer until I would say maybe high school.
You were a defensive midfielder?
Yes. Yeah. Well, yes, I kind of played a little bit of everything, but club, when it was serious, I was a midfielder, but like high school, they would put me in goal if we were up, if we were down.
Not surprised at all with that one.
Yeah. If we were down, I would be on the field, but if we were up, I was goalie, kind of just. But club, when I was actually playing seriously, I was a 6, like a holding.
So essentially, on the football field, the enormous football field, you were the same as you were on the tiny basketball court. You were defensively just a glove, and then attacking, you were just making everything happen.
I guess, yeah.
Lucky for me, you switched sports or I would have been out of a job. Georgia, I know that soccer in Australia has lots of competition with a lot of other sports, basketball, cricket, swimming, and then like 20 different forms of rugby. Mm-hmm. Did you have any exposure to soccer in Australia?
I mean, I played every one of those things, but not particularly soccer, no.
Interesting.
I loved AFL.
You were Aussie rules?
Yeah.
You were proper Aussie rules, weren't you?
Yeah, no, I loved it up until I had to choose, maybe when I was like 16, 17. Like, I got put on one of the national teams for basketball, and I was like, I probably should pick basketball. And then just knew that there were so many opportunities, like coming over to the States. I've been here, like you said, for how many years, and now I'm in the WNBA, which is pretty cool, but it definitely paved the way that I would hope it did.
You were like Aussie rules. You were weighing up the options. You were like, Aussie rules is fun. I get to hit and hurt people. Mm-hmm. Basketball, maybe Virginia Tech, maybe Kentucky, maybe the WNBA, and you were like weighing up. But you did tell me.
I do have an eyebrow gash. I have to brush up my eyebrow every morning because playing footy, I got popped. I fell on the ground, eyebrow gash, taken to the hospital. My mom actually stood over me and was like, I gotta go back to work. Like, can you get up? I gotta go. I was like, I need an ambulance.
You two are both in your rookie season, and this does feel like such an exciting time to be coming into the WNBA, much like the NWSL. The league feels like it's entering a new, exciting chapter. More people than ever are watching these games on TV, going to them, buying merch. Just today, the league announced it would be expanding to 18 teams. Congratulations, that's awesome. Yeah. Women's sports are on the rise. Sonia, I know you have discussed how much it means to you to watch this game grow, but can you tell me a little about what it feels like to walk out onto a court and see so many fans, some even wearing your jersey, these young people that will hopefully one day become your teammates?
Yeah, I mean, it means everything. I think like basketball or any sport really wouldn't be the sport that it is without its fans, you know? I think we saw that during COVID when you played in front of empty stadiums, empty arenas. So it's really the people that make it as special as it is. So just to see the rise in support and people watching, it literally means everything, so.
The WNBA can be a tough league to break into, and I know it was made even more difficult for you, Georgia, as you suffered an ACL injury less than a week into training camp. And I also know firsthand how isolating and grueling rehabbing a long-term injury can be, especially when you have a short history of injuries and you haven't been through this before. I think the hardest part is that you're not out there with your teammates every day. You really need your teammates to lift you up during all the ups and downs of an injury, but your teammates have been saying that you are lifting them up during this time. You're at every game on the bench, cracking jokes, charting and writing player reports for your coaches. Can you talk to us about how that strength that you give and get from your teammates has been affecting your recovery?
Yeah, I mean, it's reciprocal for sure. I think initially, like, I'm a point guard. Like, that's my job, is to understand my teammates, to run the team, to know all of that. So either way, injured or not, going into my rookie year, I had to be a sponge. And I know that's cliche to say, but like, that's the whole thing I can do with my brain. Like, I don't need my right ACL to do that. So I wanted to continue to do that and be as involved as possible, but it's just perspective. Like, it's just an opportunity to learn. I kind of get not the pressure that she has to feel every single night of guarding the best player and averaging 20. I can... Yeah, I just get to learn. That's the best part of it. And I mean, when I got injured, the GM and the head coach came over to my apartment and told me what happened. And I think I cried more, not when they told me I'd torn it, but when they said I'm still a Mystic, I'm still involved, because it just meant the world to me. To like, that's the best for recovery, is to be around a team, and that's from players to staff to all my people are up there, my trainers are up there. So it's an amazing feeling.
I asked you before, how do you do it? How do you summon the generosity of spirit? Because elite athleticism is a very individual sport, and to some degree, your individualism has been put on mute for a period of time. And you just looked at me and you laughed and you said,
I'm just an Aussie. I'm just built different. Just tough. That's how it goes.
Oh, I used to live in this city. And there's many things I adore about it, but one of it is that this is a city where the teams all seem to support each other in a really meaningful way. I love seeing you, Georgia, at your first Washington Spirit game. Both of you went to the game. You went to Rowdy Audi Field. You saw the magnificent Spirit play. And I know that you've developed really meaningful relationships with a number of the Spirit players. Trinity Rodman shot a video for you welcoming you to the city when you arrived. It was incredibly meaningful and beautiful to find out that Croy Bethune was one of the first to text you when you were injured. Can you put into words? Can you put into words what it's like to be part of this incredible community amongst the players here?
Yeah, it's amazing. Like, first of all, Croy messaged me and she goes, hey, I'm Croy, I play for the Spirit. Like, I know we haven't met each other. And I was like, I know exactly who you are. You do not need to introduce yourself. But it's just amazing to get that support. It's like you said, the city as a whole, it's together. I mean, we went to the soccer game and we couldn't leave without taking a bunch of pictures, because it was just like the community getting behind all the sports, and it matters the most. I think coming from, like colleges where that was huge, the environment, it makes championship teams. Like, it's in the culture. Everyone uses the word culture. Not many people really uphold it, but Washington does, and it feels like that.
So when you look at the WNBA and the NWSL and the women's national teams and just the ever-growing landscape of women's sports, can you speak to all the young people in the audience? Like, what are your dreams for not just yourselves, but for that next player that comes after you, that next generation?
That's hard. I mean, I would say that I just want to leave the game better than I found it. When I look at all the players that played before me and how they set this game up and the opportunities that I now get, I just want the opportunities, let's say in 10 years, to be even better than what I was able to get. And then another dream I would say is to bring a championship to DC.
That's a crowd pleaser right there.
Yeah, I think we're coming into the league at a really, good time, a privileged time. I think, charter flights, like we've taken full advantage of that. I've taken full advantage of that. I'm injured and I'm still going everywhere. But I think I want it to get to a point where like nothing is a shock. Like, and I mean, when we're on the road or I'm talking to teammates and other teams and it's like there's no consistency. Like, we are treated really well. And when I'm talking to, other players on other teams, it's like, oh, we don't have that yet, or they've talked about this. I'm like, no, we have it. So I just, want consistency. I want to be able to have any woman that comes and plays in this league to be like, I deserve this, I get this, this is up to standard with, what the men get, I think that's how it should be.
I've got to say, Sonia, when you do leave the game better than you found it, come and play for the US Women's National Team. I'm not going to let that go. But I will say, Sonia and George, you are both true lights in an incredibly dark world. I just raise a glass to your continued success, the inspiration that you're bringing to everyone with this room and everyone across the nation. Washington, D.C., please be upstanding for two of your own, Georgia Amoore and Sonia Citron.
Did we just become best friends? I hope so. Thank you. Georgia and Sonia just got me so excited for the future of the Mystics, the WNBA, and the growth of women's sports in general. The community that has formed among athletes and fans here in DC especially is amazing. Plus, it's always great to see teammates at the start of their careers becoming such great friends. Where would I be without you, Becky?
Up here with someone else.
Never. I am so excited to introduce our final guest, who is very fittingly someone who embodies the exact kind of determination, talent, and unselfishness you want in a teammate. She's a forward, turned fullback, turned forward, turned center back. Pride of Newbury Park, California, a stalwart, press-breaking defender, dynamic, fast, and strong, who played every single minute for your magnificent Washington Spirit last season. A rising young star who looks set to lock down a place on the U.S. team. DC, please be upstanding for Tara McKeown. McKeown, welcome to the stage.
Thank you. That's a lot of people.
Tara, you made the move to DC from California, where you played for my college rivals at USC. Go Bruins.
Fight on.
Because you were selected by the Spirit in the 2021 NWSL draft. And as someone who had lived their whole life in Southern California, was there anything in particular that excited you about moving to DC?
Yeah, my sister was here. That was like, yeah, the best thing. I think that was the top team I wanted to go to because she was out here at the Naval Academy at the time. So being like an hour away from her, it kind of was like I was going to just another home with her.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
What fortuitous luck in the draft.
I know, it was pretty great.
So you spoke to Sam about a month ago on an episode of Friendlies and told her how in 2023, in your third season with the Spirit, management brought you in and asked you to consider a switch from forward to center back. You cried.
Yeah.
And maybe felt like you were sent to the principal's office, but you also said that as upset as you were, you made the big switch, made it look effortless.
Becky's a big reader.
Wow. Led league defenders in clearances per 90 minutes and played every minute to help the Spirit to the playoffs. As a center back, it is just so impressive to watch someone transition from an attacking role back to the center back position and to do it so well like you have. Everyone thinks center back is the easiest position to play on the field until they actually get there and realize that you have to make the right decision at the right time for 90 straight minutes. But that's me.
Yeah.
But for you, what's been the hardest part about the move?
I think at first it was the confidence aspect of playing out of the back and like having the confidence to be able to attract the pressure and like not just, oh my gosh, someone's coming, let me just kick the ball away. So like now being in my third year at center back, I'm having more fun on the ball and like just enjoying playing around and like actually like connecting and passing instead of just like maybe clearances that I would have done a lot in the first year.
For sure, it's like risk averse. Yes, we'll
Yeah,
go right,
get that
right
away
to not
from me.
making any mistakes.
Yeah.
I've talked about this a couple of times on my show. The Arsenal legendary manager, Arsene Wenger, once said, if you're an attacker, you love to win. If you're a defender, you hate to lose. Yeah. So you were both. So which are you in your heart of hearts?
I feel like I'm both. I mean, I hate losing, but I love winning.
I think I've spoken to two players who've done what you've done. By the way, you made it look effortless, as Becky said. It is incredibly difficult to do what you've done. And both players have said the same thing. I'm both. I hate it. I mean, it's an amazing, it's not just a tactical change. It's like a fusion of the two sides of yourself. And it's not easy. I love watching you play. You are tenacity personified, Tara. You really are. But I'm also blown away by the sacrifice that you've made to excel and really soar in this nation. It's a well-worn story, but it's a deeply powerful story. 2024 playoff quarterfinals. Spirit are playing Bay FC. And it fell on the weekend of your sister's wedding. I remember watching this, and I just ached for the decision that you had to make. A human being forced to choose between their footballing family and their family, and you chose football. By the way, I'd not met you before tonight. I shed a tear when I saw you. When I saw you pop on your bridesmaid's dress to take some photographs so that they could be photoshopped into the actual pictures. And then not go to the wedding. And football, part of the reason I love the game is that it's not scripted. And by not being scripted, some of the things that happen in it are so supreme and transcendent, they could never be scripted. Because in the 85th minute of this game, probably as you... This happened. Tara, can I ask you, first of all, that was a striker's finish. When you watch it now, what emotions do you experience?
I feel like it brings me back to that day. I still get emotional about it. Yeah, it was a really hard day, missing her wedding the night before, but like I said during the time, that's my second family, so I knew I had to show up for my team and my family and be the best I could on that day, and my whole family at home supported me and they were all watching, so yeah, I still...
I'm not sure we were worried about this part. I didn't know who was probably more likely to cry, me or Tara. I mean, this is so deeply, we often forget the footballers we admire and love and revere are profound human beings. And part of the incredible journey we're always watching each of you on is filled with sacrifice. So when you look at this journey, can you talk about what motivates you, how you rationalize what you're giving up to achieve the ultimate dream for yourself?
I think it's because of them and because of my family. They've always sacrificed so much for me growing up. My parents would drive me hours to any soccer tournament, any place I needed to go. They would drop everything to drive me or my siblings. So I think the joy that they have in seeing me live my dream now and accomplish what I have been able to so far, I think it's all the more reason to just keep going for them and for your support system.
Well said. Because of supporting your soccer family, you were rewarded when Emma Hayes gave you the call up to the U.S. Women's National Team camp at the top of 2025. That must have meant so much to you, to the spirit, to your family, to your sister, who of course supported you through your journey. You've had 7 caps now against teams that are not to be underestimated: Colombia, Brazil, Japan, and you've quickly become a key member of the defensive unit Emma Hayes is building. Can you talk about how becoming Tara McKeown U.S. International has changed the way you think about yourself and your game?
I think it's just like a cherry on top, honestly. Like at this point, when I moved to center back, I did not know what the future held, but I thought there could be a potential of being on the national team. So I decided to go all in and make the switch. And now that it's like paid off and I'm finally like living the dream, basically, like I couldn't be happier. And yeah, I'm just so grateful. Like every time I get that email to go back to camp, I'm still like shocked. So I'm very grateful and like happy to be a part of this group right now and see what the future holds.
That's really good. That's a really great perspective, and I've always said never lose that gratitude. Every time you get that email, that call up, it's always going to be special. So that's lovely to hear.
Yeah, that email is a really great feeling. I miss it. Tara, we just saw your attacking prowess is still within you, even as you're playing center back. And I myself have noticed you, particularly in these last couple of games against Ireland, sometimes getting up the field and into the box and maybe getting a couple of assists here and there. Is there a voice in your head? Is there a defensive voice going, you need to get back, or is there just like a defensive fairy godmother that's like, now's your time? What do they say, Becky?
Keep going.
Yeah. What is that experience like for you?
I think it's a little bit of both. I'm like remembering when I'm up there, I do have to go back. So like make sure you go up at the right times. But also I think it's like the confidence that Emma has in this group. And like she said, she's giving us the freedom to like play how we want and enjoy and like go forward. If you see the space, take the space. There was like a time in this last game when I was on the top of the box and the ball came across, and in training the other day, we were working on like my long balls, but like more of a chip instead of the shot that I usually do. And she's like, pulled me to the side during the game, and she's like, if you ever get that ball again, I need you to rip it like a shot. I was like, she's like, not what we were working on. I was like, okay, I'll rip it.
She's like, listen to me less.
I know, I'm like.
I love that. You should rip it, and I can't wait for you to do it.
Yeah.
This next game against Canada is in your now backyard, Washington, D.C.
Yes.
And it's kind of a rare opportunity to play in your home city for the national team. So tell us what kind of game you're expecting and what your team is expecting from Canada.
I mean, I think it's going to be a great game. Like any game against Canada, it's the rivalry. Like everyone is so invested in this game and like how well both nations have been doing lately, especially my teammate is on Canada, so I feel like it's even more of like a rivalry between the two of us. But yeah, I'm just really excited, and I've never played Canada, so like just to like be in that environment and be on the team during one of these most like important games, I think it's going to be amazing.
Wear your shin guards.
Yeah.
That's
I'll
my
wear like
advice.
double.
Do you visualize games before you play them? Do you think about them? Do you think about what you want to happen?
Yeah, I think especially like after the film, I'm like, okay, so we see like what could happen, but like also what we don't see on film that could be available for us. So I think just going into it like with an open mind that we have this game plan, but the game can change at any moment, and just being able to adapt and ready for that.
I'm not asking you this, but I'm kind of asking you this. Can you just visualize Tuesday night, that ball just spinning through time and space, dropping to you in a place you'd normally chip it back or maybe play a ball?
I'm going to rip it.
Yeah. It's a joy to listen to you. I mean, it's a joy to hear this, the layers of your story that I hope everybody here and everybody watching at home thinks about when they see Tara kick a football. The coach at an elite level saying, I'd like to completely change your position, change your world, turn you upside down. We know you cried, but you long to make this national team, to play for the United States. You took a massive risk. That's what I see when I see you. Someone took a massive risk and was rewarded for it. You skipped your sister's wedding. You pursued your footballing dreams. And now you're here. You're about to face Canada in the Allstate Continental Classic. We've lived. I mean, by the way, children listening at home, forget the World Cup and the Olympics. Dream of playing the Allstate Continental Classic. By the way, if you clap loud up, we can come back to D.C. twice next year. I'm inspired by what you've said tonight, and I hope everybody who's watching, listening, following along is, because I see this incredible, almost biblical passing on of the torch. 39 years, Mia Hamm, Christine Sinclair, Abby Wambach, Jesse Fleming, Sam Mewis, Becky Sauerbrunn, bona fide icons of the game. I'm not trying to hype this up too much, but when you take the field against Canada and you understand the history of this rivalry and the opportunity to write your name into its telling, can you talk about what that will feel like for you and the meaning that it carries for you, Tara?
Yeah, it's everything. Like you said, the players who came before me and just trying to live up to like the standards that they set. Like you guys both amazing. So like just living up to that standard and that expectation that this is the national team, like we don't lose. So like we have to go into that with the same mindset every game. And I think I just feel like so honored to have that like responsibility going into this game.
Tara, hearing that, I think for Becky and I, like, you're exactly the type of person and player that we want to be on the national team, that we want to kind of trust that responsibility to. You're becoming an experienced veteran of the NWSL, but you're really in the early days of your U.S. women's national team career. As I have transitioned away from soccer into this new role, I find myself so lucky that I get to, like, meet and hang out with the new U.S. women's national teamers. And I really do feel that the future of this team is brighter thanks to players and people like you. Your attitude and willingness to change and adapt says a lot about you, and it will take you really far. The Spirit are very lucky to have you. So, Tara, thank you so much for joining us. Washington, D.C., please be upstanding for one of your own, Tara McKeown. my gosh, I loved that. Thank you. What a great chant. I'm obviously such a fan of Tara's. If you haven't listened to the interview I did on Friendlies, go to TWG's YouTube channel because it's very, very cute. I can't wait to watch Tara take the field on Wednesday. DC, I have some sad news. We're nearing the end of the show, but I also have some good news. The night does not have to end. We want to meet each and every one of you to raise a glass after the show. So come and meet us at Whitlow's on U Street, just 4 blocks away. We'll be there on the first floor.
We can't wait to be with you. In every sincere reality, it's a joy to be with human beings who love this game we love in the nation we adore. I do think there's an amazing sense of positivity, optimism, and connectivity that flowed through all of our veins that we shared tonight. Can we just hear it for Becky Sauerbrunn? Let's tell you, it's the first live show I've done with Becky Sauerbrunn. It feels, honestly, I don't like to be hyperbolic, it feels like an actor working with Helen Mirren. You are so effortless and you make this look so bloody easy. And I know it's not your favorite thing in the world to do, but I need you to know. I need you to know you do. Yeah, there you are, podcast Becky. That is the Becky. That is the Becky that we know and love. But more than anything, I want to thank all of you in this theatre for being with us. It's an incredible time to be alive. All of us here know one thing and one thing only, that we want to thank Allstate for making this night possible. Can I just say, there's not that many brands that would make a night like this possible. And I've got to tell you, I came in tonight feeling dark and a bit twisted. I'm leaving tonight absolutely walking on air. And I hope that everybody in this room feels somewhat similar. And everybody watching at home feels the same. Because ultimately, it's what this is all about. But there's more to come. We are just 346 days away from the World Cup kicking off in the United States. It's the lesser men's World Cup. But here's the good news. It thrills me to say this. I said it once already. We are 724 days away from the kickoff of the 2027 Women's World Cup. It's an incredible time to be alive. It really is. It's a magical time for all of us who love the game. It's also, I'm not going to lie, it's a time of challenge across aspects of life for so many human beings. And I want to end because this is a rare moment of wonder for me. I'm on stage with, honestly, 2 of the most joyous human beings that I know in life. And listening to you on Good Vibes FC with Limby Endolo, the captain of the United States Women's National Team. It's just a weekly dose of optimism and incredible magical connectivity. So I'm going to take a leaf out of the Good Vibes FC book, ask you to close with a last blast each. Can you give us all here tonight, everybody watching along at home, give us a message of what gives both of you a sense of optimism and joy so that we can all be lifted by it? Sam first.
Yeah, I'm making everything about soccer as usual. I feel like watching this current U.S. Women's National Team is bringing me so much joy right now because my favorite memories with this team were during the 2019 World Cup when we genuinely were all really good friends. We called each other 22 best friends. And I know people will say all the time, in professional sports, you're not going to be friends with everybody. I just have always been an advocate that it really helps when you have that love and chemistry and bond with each other. And leaving the team and not playing soccer anymore has obviously been really difficult, and I miss that so much. But seeing my friends who are still on the team get to experience that again, that love and joy that this U.S. Women's National Team so clearly has, they're playing with this passion. They're playing, it looks like it's fun out there. They're making dance videos together. They're doing all of the things that brought me so much joy during my career in those really good and special moments. And so I am proud of them. I feel really connected to the team again through this job, and I'm just really grateful for that. And I hope that everybody who plays for the U.S. Women's National Team has fun and wins their games against Canada.
My good vibe is that I love this city. This is where my professional career started. I got drafted to the Washington Freedom and the WPS. I won a championship with the Portland Thorns at Audi Field in 2022.
Big hearts, people, remember.
We signed a collective bargaining agreement for equal pay. At Audi Fields. So I have great memories of the city, and I know we're going through really tough times right now, and you know, you turn on the TV and you see all these horrendous things happening, and I get here to the city, and I walk around and I see pride flags, and I see crowds of people. I see crowds of people that want the diverse experience of having so many different types of lives and people living here and making this country better. And so I have a lot of hope for this city. I know there's a lot of fight, and so my good vibe, it's just that feeling of walking here and knowing that there are good people here that are wanting to do the good things, and that if we collectively come together, we can get things done. And that is my good vibe.
What a beautiful and perfect note to end on. That's our show, everybody. Becky, Rog, to our incredible guests, Casey Stoney, Tara McKeown, George Amoore, and Sonia Citron. The good people of Washington, D.C., thank you so much. And come and meet us at Whitlow's. Thanks, everybody.
Big, big love. Sammy Mewis, Becky Sauerbrunn.